There's so much open-endedness to Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, it's hard to even quantify. Where were you in your journey when you realized that there was an entire home-building side quest you could partake in? Maybe you rushed right over to Hateno Village to try to find your old house, only to find remnants that Zelda has been there, and that the house is no longer usable to you, so it sends you on a wild goose chase trying to find it. Maybe you were really invested in all the activities you can do in Terrytown and one thing led to another and you found it that way. Or maybe you made it all the way to the end of the game and just started talking to random NPCs. If, like myself, you experience the latter, then you get to this point of the game and realize, okay, I can buy a lot of stuff for this house. This must be the end game money sink where I can spend all this excess rupees I don't need. Really puts me in mind of the villa from Pokemon Platinum, except nowhere near as expensive. And this is a lot more customizable, so it seems like an upgrade from Platinum. From the beginning, there's two immediate problems that everybody seems to be concerned with. One, which I already mentioned, is the money. If you're not at a stage of the late game where money is an arbitrary issue for you, this is going to cost a comical amount of rupees. But there are ways to farm and grind and get money easily, so that's not too big of an issue. It's just, if you're not at that stage of the game, it can be a little frustrating. The other issue that I see a lot of people complain about is the design. This looks god-awful for a house, I gotta say. People say these look like shipping containers. That is a clever-ass way to get around YouTube censorship. But seriously, this looks horrible. Even the houses back in Terrytown had variety, different colors, and I like green. I prefer a darker green, but I don't mind the color green for a house. It's just, why does it have to look like this? It is a far cry from the old home in Hateno Village. Like, why is everything a block like this? I feel like I'm playing Minecraft. I get it from Hudson's point of view, like it's easy and convenient and probably cheap to construct houses this way, but like, dog, can they at least look more appealing than this? Like more decorative walls or different colored walls or ornamentation or, I don't know, a roof? Even the buildings in Terrytown have roof options. What the hell are these things? I just noticed them. They're on the corner of all these blocks. What do they do? I never noticed them before now, but like, what's the purpose of these? I guess this is the best we get for ornamentation. This is the second main issue that I think most people are going to have the bigger issue with, just because there's no getting around it. Your house is going to look like this, and there's no way you can change it. But like I said, it doesn't bother me so much. I would rather have a house look like this that I can customize to my own design, rather than the stock one in Terrytown that looks miles better, but not much room for customization there. And you know me, I'm a customization freak, so let's get started building this house. Now, once you actually start building, one of the first things you're going to notice is most rooms don't have walls, which I guess is convenient when you're actually in the house, but that also means if you just put a room next to another room and no end room there, you're going to have an opening in your house, so there's no point of even having a door. Very quickly, you're going to realize how important these square rooms are. They don't have walls. They just have a ceiling and a floor, so this is what you will need to connect your rooms to other rooms, but make sure those rooms actually have walls, because unlike this one that doesn't, you will need to close your home in unless you like wildlife and thieves and bugs getting into your home, which I am not a fan of. And after a little experimentation, you do get used to it. I think most people will purchase a home with the intent to store weapons that they collect and don't want littering up their inventory. There's only 3 available weapon rooms, however. Once you buy all 3, you can't get any more, so there's a finite amount of space you can hold, but still, it's nice to have the option. So now the minigame for me becomes micromanaging how to efficiently store my weapon rooms while also making it feel cozy and livable in a building that looks like this. So you keep buying more rooms, seeing what you like, seeing what you don't, and eventually you realize, oh my god, I only have 15 spaces to put rooms. When you first start, it seems like that's so far away, you'll never get there, but after, I'm not even kidding, like 30 minutes, you hit that barrier, and it's like, well, what do I do now? There's gotta be a way to upgrade this, right? Like, maybe after I buy the 16th item, he'll let me put more here? Nope. This is a hard cap, and the main issue I have with this You only have 15 available spaces to put rooms in order to customize this home. That is inexcusable. You have this entire ass plot of land. There's no reason there should be a limit that low for how many rooms you can build. Because as far as I can tell, there's no vertical limit to how high you can build your house. So theoretically, you can just buy all 14 of these stairs and just make your house a skyscraper. Actually, upon further inspection, guys, it seems you cannot do this, so don't try it. While we're on the topic of vertical building, or just building in general really, it needs to be stated just how inconvenient it is trying to gauge what you're building without the ability to move freely. Like, this isn't an issue specific to this portion of the game, but here's where it really feels prohibitive. You practically need Zonai devices in order to create platforms just so you can get high enough to see what you're attempting to build. When you're early on in the game and don't have the luxury of those Zonai items, it's frustrating. But this is late game. There shouldn't be a reason for this frustration. Yet I constantly find myself groaning every time I need to pull out Zonai devices just to try to even see what I'm doing. But then what happens? Look at this. I can't see what I'm doing. I need to be higher. There's no platforms around, so I basically need a rocket in order to get the kind of height I need to actually get an aerial view of what I'm doing. So I'll just consume one of the finite amount of rockets I have in order to get a little height, and the game thinks I'm trying to leave the area when I go high enough to actually be able to see what I'm doing. So forget everything I just said. The game is putting its foot down, demanding that you do not build more than 2 stories high. So now the question becomes, how do we utilize this space without going too high in order to make room for every room we could want? By the way, just letting you know, for your own sake, you do not want the study. For whatever reason, it is a 1x1 room. It does not fit with anything, so it is a complete waste, just off the jump. And I don't know who let bro cook when they built this triangle room, but dog, this does not have a purpose. It feels like some of these options are just straight trolling. We only have 15 rooms anyway. Why would I ever want to waste those on some of these? I guess it comes down to preference. Like, if you really want to build your house out of triangles, more power to you. They just didn't distribute the amount of support each of these weird kind of rooms would need. If you just want a basic house that can display your weapons, it does provide that. And that's pretty much the kind of house I would like to build. So, theoretically, it should be possible for me to build a dream house, right? Nah, because I spent an excruciating amount of time just plotting land exactly the way I want it, using the most state-of-the-art sophisticated engineering technology. So I made a diagram in paint.net because this is what I had to resort to, because just all the limitations you're given. The conclusion I came to is that you need 3 of these square rooms with no walls on the floor. That way you can hold your 3 weapons rooms at the end of the 3rd square room to cover each of those walls. Every wall here will be covered. And with this square room, you have your bow room and your shield room covering those walls there. And with the first square room, you have your foyer, obviously, your kitchen to the right, and then stairs immediately entering the door. And then up here, this is your 2nd floor. And then you have another square room, just so you can have more rooms, with the bedroom on the left, the blessing room immediately exiting the stairs, and the gallery, where you can have a decent picture here. This is 15, by the way. I counted out, I mapped it out. This is, I put more effort into this than I definitely should have. But this is what I came up with in trying to create a room with everything I would like to have. I'm sorry, not a room, a house. Yeah, it feels more like a room, but a house with everything I would like to have. I'd ideally like to have more, like roofs or ornamentation, like they had flower beds and outside stairs. But since you can only have 15 rooms, I concluded that this is the direction I'd want to go with. And even still, I ran into a problem. This space is not big enough. I don't know how, this had to be intentional. because it just barely does not fit. And I don't see a reason why the rope can't be stretched a little more, like closer to the cliffs. Like, they specifically put it so you cannot have 3 square rooms with a room on each side, so you can actually have walls in your house so bugs and shit don't get in. Why specifically did they make it so you can't build a house this long? Yes, clearly here the issue is that this concoction is sticking outside of the arbitrary rope, not the fact that it's just tipping like this. Obviously, once I put it back in the rope, he's going to say something like, "Oh, this is unsafe, I can't..." Eventually, I actually twisted it catty-corner enough to the point where, even though it looks like I'm squeezing out of the rope, it still accepted it, so this is still an acceptable house. But the fact that I had to... And I didn't get this on camera because it was so hard. I was doing this off screen because I didn't think I'd ever do it, but I did it. And now once I move this, everything's gonna go back to the way it was because I'll never get it again. I got like the pixel perfect spot where it worked. And this is the only way that you can get a 3 square room long wide house to fit in this plot of land that is arbitrarily shortened by the rope. And I messed up in the room placement, so I have to redo the whole thing. And don't even get me started on this guy. He just runs around constantly, getting in your way. You can't place down buildings if he is in the spot where you need to put him. Dude, get away! And there's also the opposite problem. When you want to find him to actually get more buildings, he's nowhere to be found. Why can't he just stay in the same spot? What purpose do you have for following me? See that, bro? I just saved your ass from that unsafe condition that you let me build. Get out of it. And I don't mean to complain because this is a phenomenal game through and through. It's just... it feels like unfinished and unpolished compared to the rest of the game. And like I said, I really thought this was like the end game money sink that you're supposed to do at the end of the game once you've done everything else and money becomes arbitrary for you. I thought this is what it was building to. Spend all the money, but build a phenomenal house. But you can't. You don't have enough space. So I don't understand why all this is even here. You are never going to have enough room for all this. Like I said, it feels unfinished. You guys ever play Building Race on the Wii? Bad example. I really had high hopes for this, and I'm left pretty disappointed, and I'm sure a lot of other people are as well, so I just wanted to make this video to kind of vent frustration that I have, and I feel a lot of other people have with this portion of the game. Man, I don't even want a house. Get me out of here. Let me start from scratch. And that's another thing. Every time you want to start from scratch, you need to completely empty the plot. There's no just, I want to restart option. You have to do this every time. Like, why? Who are you? Why are you in Zelda's house? What's going on? This isn't supposed to be in the footage. What the fuck?